Dr. Elizabeth Hoefer wants you to get your head on straight. In a world gone sideways, having balance and integrity in all areas of life leads to having confidence that breeds clarity. Clarity is essential to living an authentic life, and all the information shared on the Get Your Head On Straight podcast is designed to inspire you to live your life fulfilled. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Get Your Head On Straight with Dr. Elizabeth Hoefer. My guest today is a world-renowned chiropractic advocate and chiropractic documentary film director who has 2 feature films on the profession. He now runs the world's #1 podcast in chiropractic, Chiro Hustle. Without further ado, please welcome Jim Chester.
Well, it's such an honor to be with you here today, and I understand what it's like to get your head on straight.
I know. I love it. So we've got some cool things we want to talk about. And what's really neat is that we actually grew up in the same town, Davenport, Iowa.
Yeah, I tell people I'm just a kid from Iowa that loves his mom.
I know. I saw that. And I'm sorry about your mom. I know you lost her this year, and that was a huge hit for you. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that later, but I am just so excited because Davenport, Iowa is the birthplace of chiropractic, and both of us are very, very passionate about spreading the truth, and you do it in a very, very unique way. Can you give my audience a little understanding about who you are, what you bring, and why you do what you do?
Sure. First of all, I just want to thank you so much for having me on your show.
Sure.
And I'm just really excited to share a broad message of what we do with chiropractic. And I think that when you think about chiropractors, since I've been in the profession for 11 years now, they say, tell the story, tell the story, tell the story. And I believe that, telling the story has become somewhat of a cornerstone for what we do. We've documented it, made 2 chiropractic films. We've done over 800 interviews in 3 years on the profession. And I really believe if we don't tell our story of chiropractic, then someone else will make up one about us. And that's been a real big problem for my career in chiropractic, is people really are misunderstood about why chiropractic works, what different chiropractic practitioners do. And as I've gotten more integrated into chiropractic, what schools produce what type of chiropractor, and what a chiropractor is without philosophy, what chiropractor that doesn't adjust is. Like, I've learned a lot about the profession. And so a little bit more is just my ambition is to keep the free speech alive in chiropractic and really support subluxation-based chiropractic, which people might not understand what that means. And if you don't understand what that means, it's the foundation of chiropractic is based on innate intelligence and that the body can heal itself. And that once the subluxation is cleared out of someone's body, their physiology changes and it allows the body to heal naturally. So that's a little bit about the work that we do. But like you mentioned, I grew up in Davenport, Iowa, and that's the birthplace of chiropractic. And I had no idea that life would take me down this route, being a supporter and an advocate of a profession like chiropractic, but it has. And I just think that we have a lot of work to do still.
I totally agree with you. One of the reasons that I can say that from firsthand experience is that I actually serve on the board for the California Chiropractic Association. I am the House of Delegates chair, and my job is to represent chiropractors in the state of California to the legislation and bring information to the legislators to help them understand what it is that chiropractic is and how diverse it is and why all of us with a DC behind our name should be able to do what's in our scope. So I understand firsthand exactly what you're talking about. And I have made this clear from the beginning of my entrance into Cal Chiro organization since I got to California in 2008, is that I think that we should all be able to sit together on the same stage and have conversations around this thing called subluxation and understand that we all have the same purpose, and that's to help the person on the table. However it is we get there is however it is we get there. And so I think you're right in that we have a lot more work to do. But I want to know, because I've seen this asked before, and I don't think any of my listeners have probably heard any of these interviews. What do you say to people when they say, well, why don't you just become a chiropractor? Like, what is your answer to that? And how did you get into having grown up under chiropractic care in the birthplace of chiropractic and then move into this incredible role of supporter-advocator? Because that is something that we desperately need as a profession.
It almost brings a tear to my eye because I never wanted to be a doctor. I went to school to be a journalist and to understand marketing. And my life path was supposed to be working as a sports journalist. And my career was set to be a sports journalist. And I got into working for a newspaper called the Quad City Times. And I realized that journalism wasn't so real. And when I was working in the newspapers back in 2000, I realized that the profession of reporting wasn't reporting.
Right.
It was editorial. And the editor had mass control of whatever stories were put out, and they framed that story based on what they wanted. So as I got into chiropractic, I realized that it was kind of a profession that was misunderstood, that needed clarity to be established around it. So that's why I dedicated my time and effort and energy to telling the chiropractic story and being an advocate for something I believed in that more people could have clarity on now because of the work that I do. And I produce real journalism, which is the truth of chiropractic. And I could have gone down any road back when I was 30 years old. I'll be 42 soon. But I could have gone down any road back when I was 30. And I realized that I did some deep soul searching. I was like, what do I dedicate my life to? What do I dedicate my career to? What do I want to really attach myself to? And as I started doing that, I realized the only thing I really believed in the world, really, other than freedom, was chiropractic. And if I could do something with a profession that I loved and grow through it and grow with it, then I felt like I could take something that was kind of on the fringe and bring it forefront. And that's really what we've been doing for specifically the past 6 years. But before that, I worked in a chiropractic office for 6 years. So I started learning what it was like to see people get better. So I didn't really want to dedicate my life to becoming a journalist for the profession unless I understood what it meant for people to actually improve their quality of life. And outcome is something that's important for the medical profession. So I know that chiropractic is outcome based, and there's no pills, potions, or lotions, or drugs, or surgeries. There's no burn it out, cut it out. It's straight up, I'm going to adjust the subluxation and I'm going to let the body heal because the number one doctor in the world is the one inside of you.
Come on. You got it. And I love that you understand the philosophy, the foundation of what it is that we do, because that's exactly what I educate my patients on every day. Look, I'm going to move the bone, and God's going to do the healing. And he does that through this incredible innate intelligence that he gave us to be able to heal and be whole.
And when you say that, that's the part where most people think chiropractic is woo-woo.
And it's not though, right?
Exactly, because they're like, well, there's a philosophy that's around this you guys talk about to like the general public. And there's these scientific words that you share about your profession with the general public. And that's the thing I think that makes chiropractic so unique and distinct, is that chiropractic is not afraid to share their philosophy and their scientific lexicon with the public.
Right.
And that's why I think that chiropractic is so honest, because they will say, hey, this is what sets us apart and this is what sets our standard different. I think that that's something that when we think of other medical professions, they hide behind a white jacket and a diagnosis and a drug.
Exactly. I know people walk into my office and they come in with all these diagnoses and they're like, do you agree? And I'm like, well, it's not for me to agree or to disagree. I want to know why. And you mentioned truth earlier. And I know that you literally are like the biggest truth teller there is when it comes to chiropractic. And one of my key, probably the foundation of values that I have is truth. And so I think that chiropractic profession like you is the realest of the realest thing that exists. And we have to be able to educate people and understand that, because truth is important. When you have truth, you can make great decisions. You can make decisions on anything when there's a foundation of truth, even if the truth sucks, you know?
Well, I think you hit on a really important topic there, and the truth has to be shared. When I got into the chiropractic profession, I realized that there was truth being shared at chiropractic conferences because I'd go with the docs I was working with. I realized that there was truth that was shared inside the clinics. But when we left the conferences or when we left the clinic, there was no truth. There was wellness in pharmaceutical departments of the grocery store. There was wellness inside of CVS. There was wellness inside of Walgreens. And wellness isn't about drugs, and it isn't about elixirs, and it isn't about a patch or a cream or any of that. Wellness is the body's ability to adapt and to heal. And that's wellness. And when people make words like wellness mainstream and they adapt connotations of pharmacology to that.
Yep.
That's not wellness.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And when I do a little healthcare class for my patients, I ask them, tell me what you think health is. And they say, when I don't have a headache, or when I can move my low back any way that I want to, or when I can play with my grandkids. Some people even go as far as saying, when I feel at peace. And that's kind of cool that they kind of even go in that direction, right? But like if you look up the dictionary definition of health, it's not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So it doesn't have anything to do with symptoms. It has everything to do with complete connection, head on straight, above, down, inside out, brain, body connection, fully, optimally, right? So I love that, or like this. And I know BJ Palmer has a lot of quotes, and one of them is early to bed, early to rise, work like hell and advertise. And what we're doing is we're advertising the truth of what it is that we do.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that people need to understand is the body needs nothing extra in it. It simply needs no interference.
Come on.
And when the chiropractor clears up the interference of the nervous system, the body just magically or spontaneously or miracles occur.
Yep.
And that's the thing that what happens within the chiropractic adjustment is the body needed nothing extra. It just needed a little bit of an adjustment.
Right. And so my philosophy, the way that I practice, is less is more. And that's why I'm really drawn to the upper cervical model. I do full spine support, but I do the specific upper cervical Blair correction. And I'd like to do it just once, because if we can get that to hold, then you heal. And you don't need to have continual neck adjustments for the rest of your life every single time I see you. Because if you're connected, then let's support the body in the healing process and give it what it needs, which is no interference, right?
And I think that we could take that one step further when we, analogous talk about how we live in our environment, that success does not flow into clutter. Well, health does not flow into a disorganized nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have an organized nervous system, you have an organized organ system. And if there's proper nerve flow going from head on straight down, then the body's going to perform optimally. And I think that that's something that so many people miss. They try to how can I say this more clever? Or how can I say this to people so they'll get it better?
Right.
Well, the real thing is that the organ system's organized. The nervous system is organized through 24 spinal joints. And if there's a disorganized segment there, then the signal going to the organ system is going to cause some type of a symptomatology.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, I don't live in your body, so I don't know how you feel. But if you go see a chiropractor, you can tell them about what's going on, how much concern there is, and then they'll tell you how they can help you. And that's where we have to shore up the conversation to make it more of a technique for communication rather than, hey, you have a submarine in your neck.
Yeah. So can you give me an example, or maybe remember a story of your favorite skeptic, like somebody who you were like, they think you suck, they think you're telling them a line of BS, but they did it because they were desperate. Did they ever come back and say, hey, dude, you were so right, I'm so thankful? Did that happen all the time?
Well, I think that I should kind of pull the cloak away from me a little bit and let people know what I did when I stopped working in an office. I went out and I did 600 spinal screenings in 2.5 years.
Uh-huh.
And if anybody's ever done a spinal screening, they could probably tell you what type of a challenge that is. But I started listening to old recordings of Reggie Gold.
Nice.
I started listening to old recordings of Sid Williams. And I was listening to Sid Williams one time do this assembly talk where he would come in and he would drop the keys. And if anybody's ever heard of Sid Williams dropping the keys, this is what it was. He would say, boy, chiropractic works just like gravity. Drop the keys. It works whether you believe it or not. And that's the thing about chiropractic is you don't have to believe in it. And it's not a belief system. And I tell people this, that the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus is a belief system. Chiropractic is a healing art. And if you want to get somebody that can help you with what's going on, then you show up. And if you want to continuously do what you're doing and get the same outcome, then you don't go. So I push a pretty hard line to people and I let people know that, hey, what have you tried up to this point that's worked? Oh, you want to think about it? Okay. What have you tried up to this point that's worked?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are like, well, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that. And I'm like, well, why are you here right now talking to me?
Mm-hmm.
So I really challenge people when it comes to a belief system. And a lot of times I'll get somebody to flip because I'll grab the keys out of my pocket and I'll drop them to the ground. And I'll tell them they don't have to believe in chiropractic. You just have to show up and let the doctor help you.
Right on. That's awesome.
So I think that that's more of a broad spectrum to how I could handle that question.
Yeah, that's cool. So this last year has been pretty challenging emotionally, physically on you. There's been a lot going on, and you just opened with, I'm just a boy from Iowa who loves his mom. And I know you lost her in March. How have you been able to kind of like muster the strength to continue on? Is it her spirit that lives inside of you? Like, what are you doing to heal, and how are you going to honor her with the work that you're doing?
Thanks for that question. Thanks for the acknowledgement. The work that I do is kind of, gosh, how do I say this? It's a lifetime achievement, and it's not about yesterday or today. It's about the moment. Mm-hmm. And I think so many times people think about if they had a good day or a bad day. And I think about what does the lifetime achievement of my career look like?
That's awesome.
And, I do practice certain things for my habit traction where I do very specific routines every day. I read affirmations, I pray, I meditate. Yeah, I mean, whenever you own your mind, which is the last frontier, you own everything.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And did your mom instill that in you? Was that something that she gave you growing up?
No, my mom was very loving and caring. She worked for 35 years and retired broke, but she worked with Alzheimer's patients. And she told me that it doesn't cost you a nickel to be nice to people. And, that was kind of one of the things that she always inspired me, was just to be kind.
Right on.
And I think that that's what people really are that don't know me become attracted to me, because of the loving support that they can see that I carry with me. And it's not me always telling people I love them, but I encourage people to care for each other. And I think that that was passed down from my mother.
That's great. And you know what? You're her legacy, right? So the work that you're doing and the care that you bring and the kindness that you offer, because you believe in truth and you want it to be told, that is something that she gave you and modeled for you and taught you. So if she retired broke, maybe in the monetary range, but she certainly has a rich heritage and a rich legacy through you. So that's really incredible.
Yeah, just for the record, I struggled with education as a kid. I was in special classes. I struggled with dyslexia, and I was never supposed to be an educated man. I was the first of my family, the youngest of 5, to get a college degree.
Wow.
So when you're deemed not going to become educated, it creates a certain type of grit inside of you. And you're not the special one that's on the honor roll. You're not the one that gets, A's. You're the one that they passed through school because you couldn't do what all the other kids were doing. Mm-hmm. But what I tell people is, while other kids were celebrating their report cards, there were parts of my brain that were becoming calloused, and I was manufacturing different skill sets with my character. Mm-hmm. No one else was actually doing that type of work. So I was creating different levels of intelligence within me that now as an adult, I can handle a lot of these other things. And I did become an educated man along the way. Come
on. You know what? Emotional intelligence is forged through adversity. And even before we had our podcast start, we were talking about having empathy driven from drama and trauma. And I can attest that I do not need any more circumstances to give me any more empathy, because I have enough already. But it's true. When you live through things and you're able to develop that character and to be able to develop the ability to withstand adversity, that's so much better than having straight A's. Because how many valedictorians that graduated from chiropractic school can't practice chiropractic because they don't know how to communicate with people?
Yeah. And, I was always the kid that enjoyed sports, and I was always the kid that enjoyed, being outside and exploring. And I think that that's really a part of development that set me apart from being mediocre, is I got a chance to understand that, nature walks were important. I had a chance to understand that seeing people and doing sleepovers was important, and show and tell at school was my jam. And, mm-hmm. Whenever I could share with people and inspire others, that was where I thrived.
Right.
And when it was on a sports team, I was always 1 or 2 picked. So I had a different level of intelligence inside of me. And now I support chiropractic. And I think I took the underdog.
I love that. That's so great. Well, I know that I personally am so thankful for all the work that you do. I love watching every place you go because you get to go all over the world and talk to incredible people and interview amazing people that I love to learn from. And you're like the hands and feet for me because right now my job is to be here in my practice and serve the folks that I get to be blessed to serve, and I get to live vicariously through you, going all over the world and talking to people and inspiring people because my heart is an encourager too. I have a similar story when I was in junior high. I mean, to this day, I cannot make a basket to save my life, but I was like, promoted from the B team to the A team because I was like the most encouraging person. And they would simply say, just get the ball to whoever across the half court line. Do not shoot the ball, but just encourage them all to do well. And then we'll win all the games. So yeah, I still can't make a basket, so it's fine. I know I'm in my lane. I know what I can do. I can engineer a really complicated upper cervical correction and save people's lives, but don't ask me to shoot a basketball. It's good. Well, you know what? I've had fun talking with you, but I know I wanted to ask you a question, and I wanted to see what your answer was. If you could ask BJ Palmer one thing, what would you ask him?
Wow. I think for those that don't know who BJ Palmer is, I'll kind of set the stage. BJ Palmer started the first chiropractic radio station. BJ Palmer was the author of philosophy for chiropractic called the Green Books. And BJ Palmer traveled the world and perpetuated the greatness of the message of chiropractic. BJ Palmer also teamed up with amazing leaders in different circles like the circus, like Barnum and Bailey. And BJ Palmer was always with the socialites of the world. So I think, when I think of what would I ask BJ, year 2020, and we're actually on September 11th, I would ask him, how could we protect the sacred trust and make a financial contribution to the future of chiropractic to where chiropractic could stand alone and they didn't need to take money through the schools from other foundations. Right. And how could chiropractic be self-sufficient without taking money from other entities and commercials and commercial brands? That's really good. I mean, he literally brought chiropractic to the world. He did it through rugby. He did it through the radio. He did it through, like you said, being in the circles and just telling the truth. And he also was literally boots on the ground at the Palmer Clinic and at Clearview Sanitarium and doing research that was hundreds of years before his time. So I love that that's the question you would want to ask him. And I'm sure if we could get him to answer it, he would have a lot of great things to say. He'd probably write a whole damn book on it. In like one night. It's so cool. Well, I've had a really good time talking to you. I love getting to know the heart behind the man of Chiro Hustle. And can you tell people what they can do to learn more about you and where they can get the documentaries that you've made? Yeah, I would say if you go to chirohustle.com, that's kind of our hub for all information. If you have any questions, you can email us through chirohustle.com. There's a place for you to submit emails to us or follow me on Facebook or send me a direct message through Facebook Messenger. I'm pretty responsive to most people. And I always tell people the best way to interact with these platforms is to be social on social. Absolutely. And you never know whose life you'll change if you just respond back to them. Absolutely. I know that's right. And I love all of the questions you pose through Facebook. It really gets people thinking and it creates a great dialogue and it helps people get to know each other. Relationship is how the world changes, right? There's 8 billion people on the planet and the way we learn about each other and learn how to do things better is to have a relationship. So I love what you're doing. I'm thankful for you. I'm grateful that you came on to get your head on straight today. And I can't wait to continue our relationship going forward. Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on today. And just to close out, I'll tell people my 3 values are adventure, connection, and leadership. So this had an opportunity for me to hit some of my values today. Awesome. I'm really grateful for that. Have an awesome night, and we will look forward to hearing from you soon. All right. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Get Your Head On Straight with Dr. Elizabeth Hoefer. Visit wellconnectedchiro.com for more details from the show blog post and to learn what Blair Upper Cervical Chiropractic can do for you. To learn more about Dr. Hoefer and her practice, you can find her at Well Connected Chiropractic in Mission Viejo, California, by visiting wellconnectedchiro.com for more information.